Welcome to Wisdom-Trek with Gramps. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, and we are on day 2788 of our trek. The purpose of Wisdom-Trek is to create a legacy of wisdom, to seek out discernment and insights, and to boldly grow where few have chosen to grow before. The title for today's Wisdom-Trek is The Courtroom of Lies, When Love is Repaid with Hatred. Today, we are stepping off the mountain peak of victory and descending into the deepest, darkest valley of the human experience. We are beginning our journey through Psalm 109, and today we will navigate the opening complaint, verses 1 through 5, in the New Living Translation. To understand the emotional whiplash of the Psalter, we have to remember where we just were. In our previous trek through Psalm 108, we stood with King David on the mountaintop. He was the confident warrior poet. He woke the dawn with his song. He looked at the map of the nations and declared, "With God's help we will do mighty things, for he will trample down our foes." It was a psalm of absolute certainty, military strength, and divine conquest. We left feeling invincible. But today the music changes. The triumphant horns of Psalm 108 fade away, replaced by the dissonant, scratching sound of a lawsuit. Psalm 109 is famous, or perhaps infamous as the most intense, of the imprecatory or cursing psalms. Later in this psalm, David will unleash a torrent of curses against his enemy that makes many modern readers cringe. But before we get to the curses, we must understand the pain that birthed them. We must sit in the defendant's chair. In these opening 5 verses, David is not the general commanding an army. He is a man alone in a courtroom, surrounded by a mob of liars. He has been stripped of his reputation, betrayed by those he loved, and most terrifying of all, he is facing the silence of God. This is a psalm for anyone who has ever been slandered. It is for anyone who has loved someone deeply, only to have that love thrown back in their face as hatred. It is the raw, unedited cry of a heart that has been stabbed in the back. So, let us enter the courtroom and hear the plea of the innocent. The first segment is The Silence of the Judge, the Crisis of Communication. Psalm 109, verse 1. O God, whom I praise, don't stand silent and aloof. The psalm opens with a desperate appeal to the only one who matters. O God, whom I praise. Literally, O God of my praise. This is a statement of history and identity. David is saying, Lord, you are the subject of all my songs. I have spent my life building a throne of praise for you. I have defined myself by your glory. It is an appeal to relationship. He is reminding God, we are friends. I am your worshiper. But this intimacy makes the current situation unbearable. Don't stand silent and aloof. The Hebrew simply says, do not be silent. In a legal context, and this psalm is full of legal imagery, the silence of the judge is terrifying. Imagine you are standing in a court. The prosecutor is screaming lies about you. The witnesses are fabricating stories. The jury is turning against you. You look to the judge, the only one with the power to bang the gavel and shout, "Order!" And he is sitting there, silent. He says nothing. This silence feels like complicity. If God doesn't speak, the lies stand as truth. We have all been there. We have prayed, God, do you see what they are saying about me? Do you see this injustice? Why don't you do something? The silence of God in the face of accusation is a specific kind of spiritual torture. It forces us to ask, does he care? Is he listening? David begins here because he knows that if God remains silent, the enemy wins. The only thing that can counter the loud lies of the wicked is the authoritative voice of truth. The second segment is the weaponization of words, the mouth of the accuser. Psalm 109, verses 2 through 3. While the wicked slander me and tell lies about me, they surround me with hateful words and fight against me for no reason. Now David describes the attack. Notice that there are no swords, no spears, and no physical blows mentioned here. The weapon of choice is the tongue. While the wicked slander me and tell lies about me. The Hebrew text is more graphic. For the mouth of the wicked and the mouth of deceit are opened against me. The image is of mouths gaping open like the jaws of wild beasts. But instead of teeth, they use deceit. This connects us deeply to the ancient Israelite divine council worldview. Who is the father of lies? The Nahash, the serpent. Who is the accuser? The Satan. In the heavenly court, the function of a Satan, an adversary or prosecutor, was to bring accusation. We see this in the book of Job and in Zechariah chapter 3. The adversary stands at the right hand to accuse. Here on earth, David's enemies are acting out that cosmic role. They have become human Satans. They are using forensic speech, slander, and lies to dismantle David's life. We often underestimate the power of slander. We say, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me." That is a lie. Slander is character assassination. It is social murder. It kills your reputation, your career, your relationships, and your peace of mind. A physical wound heals in weeks. A slandered reputation can be ruined for a lifetime. They surround me with hateful words and fight against me for no reason. David feels besieged. It isn't just one person whispering. It is a mob. He is surrounded. Everywhere he turns, he hears the words of hatred. And the bitterest pill is the injustice of it, for no reason or without cause. If David had actually done something wrong, he could repent. He could accept the criticism. But this is gratuitous violence. It is hatred for the sake of hatred. This echoes the lament of Jesus in John 15, verse 25. They hated me without a cause. David is walking the path of the suffering Messiah, facing the irrational, demonic hatred that goodness often provokes in the wicked. The third segment is the great inversion, love repaid with prosecution. Psalm 109, verse 4. I love them, but they try to destroy me even as I am praying for them. Now we reach the heart of the tragedy. This verse reveals why the pain is so deep. This is not an enemy from a foreign land. This is a betrayal of friendship. I love them, but they try to destroy me. The Hebrew is literally, in return for my love, they are my accusers. The word for accusers here is the verb form of Satan, satanuni. David is saying, I offered them covenant love ahava, and in exchange, they satangenized me. They became my adversaries. This is the ultimate inversion of the moral universe. In a just world, love begets love. Kindness begets gratitude. But in the fallen world, and specifically in the shadow of the serpent, love often provokes hostility. Think of the emotional toll this takes. David had poured himself out for these people. He had likely fed them, protected them, perhaps even promoted them. Scholars often wonder if this refers to Saul, Doeg, or perhaps Ahithophel. And their response to his generosity was to compile a legal dossier against him to destroy him. But look at David's response. It is one of the most beautiful and enigmatic phrases in the entire Bible. Even as I am praying for them. The NLT adds for them to make sense of it, and even as to smooth it out, but the literal Hebrew is starker. It simply says, but I am prayer. Fa'ani tefillah. In return for my love, they act like Satan, but I am prayer. He doesn't just say, I pray. He says, I am prayer. David has been reduced to nothing but dependence on God. He has no defense attorney. He has no counter-accusations. He isn't holding a press conference to clear his name. He has dissolved his entire identity into the act of intercession. This is the posture of the true saint. When the world comes at you with lies, you do not become a liar to fight back. You become prayer. You retreat entirely into the court of heaven. You let God be your defense. It also foreshadows Jesus on the cross. As the crowd surrounded him with hateful words, mocking him, and slandering his ministry, he did not argue. He became prayer. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. The fourth segment is the transaction of evil, the currency of hell. Psalm 109, verse 5. They repay evil for good, and hatred for my love. The opening section concludes by summarizing the twisted transaction that is taking place. They repay evil for good, and hatred for my love. This is the economics of hell. In God's economy, we repay good for evil, grace. In the human economy, we repay good for good and evil for evil, justice. But in the demonic economy, they repay evil for good. This confirms that David is dealing with something deeper than a misunderstanding. He is dealing with wickedness in its purest form. When a person receives good kindness, charity, loyalty, and metabolizes it into evil and hatred, they have aligned themselves with the forces of chaos. This realization is important for us. Often, when we are mistreated, we rack our brains trying to figure out what we did wrong. Maybe I wasn't kind enough? Maybe I didn't explain myself well? David teaches us that sometimes you didn't do anything wrong. Sometimes you gave them good. You gave them love, and they hated you because of it. Just as Cain hated Abel because Abel's deeds were righteous, the darkness hates the light. Recognizing this brings a strange kind of peace. It releases you from the burden of trying to fix the relationship by being nicer. You cannot love a demon into repentance, and you cannot be nice enough to satisfy a slanderer. You have to hand the case over to the judge. Psalm 109, verses 1 through 5, sets the stage for the rest of the psalm. It establishes David's innocence. He is not a vindictive man lashing out. He is a wounded lover who has been betrayed. He is a man who tried to live by the law of love, but was met with the law of the jungle. It also validates our pain. If you are walking through a season of slander or betrayal, this psalm tells you you are not crazy. The pain you feel is real. The injustice is real. And it gives us a strategy. 1. Break the silence. Appeal to God. O God of my praise, do not be silent. Demand that he take the stand. 2. Name the evil. Don't sugarcoat it. Call it what it is. Mouth of deceit. Hatred without cause. Acknowledge that you are in a spiritual battle with an accuser. 3. Become prayer. Don't get down in the mud and wrestle with the pigs. Don't try to outslander the slanderer. Elevate the conflict. Turn your whole being into an appeal to heaven. Say, Lord, I am prayer, I am yours, you handle this. As we move forward in this psalm tomorrow, we will hear David ask God to let the enemy experience the very justice they have denied him. It will get intense. But for today, let us rest in the fact that even when the whole world is screaming lies, the God of our praise is preparing his verdict. If you found this podcast insightful, please subscribe and leave us a review. Then encourage your friends and family to join us, and come along tomorrow for another day of Wisdom-Trek, Creating a Legacy. Thank you so much for allowing me to be your guide, mentor, and most importantly, I am your friend as I serve you through this Wisdom-Trek podcast and journal. As we take this trek of life together, let us always live abundantly, love unconditionally, listen intentionally, learn continuously, lend to others generously, lead with integrity, leave a living legacy each day. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, reminding you to keep moving forward, enjoy your journey, and create a great day, every day. See you next time for more daily wisdom.